Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today we'll be doing chapter 1.2 in the syllabus of bio. It's called Concept and Use of a Classification System. First, the first point is state that organisms can be classified into groups by the features that they share. So you just have to know that organisms, anything that's, just think that you have to put organisms into a table. How would you put them into a table? You'd put them in by the features that they share, or like their similarities. Okay, now define. The next point is define species as a group of organisms that can reproduce to produce a fertile offspring. That's all. You need to just memorize the definition of a species. So it's basically just a group of organisms that if they reproduce and they produce a fertile offspring, they're the same species. Okay? And what you can do is that you can write it on another piece of paper, and along with your movement, respiration, sensitivity, like Mrs. Gren, along with Mrs. Gren, you can just add define species. And then third point is define, describe the binomial system of naming species as an internationally agreed system in which the scientific name of an organism is made up of two parts showing the genus and the species. The only two things you need to know about this binomial system is that it's internationally agreed. It's an internationally agreed system, and that it's made up of two parts showing the genus and species. You can just write it on a post-it note like I did. So it's basically called binomial nomenclature, and it's made up of genus and species. Okay. So then we'll go to the supplement. So explain that classification systems aim to reflect evolutionary relationships. What I did was that I made these 2 points into one point, and I said that and I made it like this. Right, classification, there are 2 points. Their systems aim to reflect evolutionary relationships, and they are based on studies of morphology and anatomy. And you can just write on your notebook, classification is, and you just have to know the 2 points, and you can just memorize that, and it's really important. Okay, then explain the sequences of bases in DNA and of amino acids in proteins are used as a more accurate means of classification. Usually classification, you are either put into like the same species, the same species and all. Over here, it's a more accurate means of classification that you check the sequences of bases. Like a DNA is shaped like this, yeah? So the sequences are these. These are the bases. So it's either A, T, C, G, or T, A, and C, G. These are the sequences of bases of DNA. If this is a more complex and more accurate means of classification. That and the amino acids in proteins. You just need to know that, and on your notebook you have to write more accurate means of classification as a question, or just add a colon. Okay, then the last point, you just have to know it, that explain that organisms which share a more recent ancestor, which are more closely related, have base sequences in DNA that are more similar than those that share only a distant ancestor. So like if you're like you share like almost this, like you share base sequences of DNA, they're like more similar. Okay, so you share the base sequences of DNA with your parents more than your grandparents and other grandparents, as in great grandparents. Okay, yeah.